Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a call of the Senate.
Call of the Senate has been moved and properly sustained. Will the sergeants please close the doors, allow no senators to leave, and return those who are absent from the chambers.
Woohoo! Let's do this. Let's do this.
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Senator Danielson,
Just keep going.
Exum, Fields, Gardner, Senator Gardner,
We could be done today.
Janal, Gonzalez, Senator Gonzalez,
1351. I'd like to get it done. I'll talk to Julie. 1453. Climber Act, 1461. 1451. 1465 and 1466.
Would you have it at 8 o'clock, you think?
I don't know. Any chance we'll be done by 8?
I gotta let some people know there's coming to testify.
Senator Kirkmeyer. Yes, sir. Would you please raise the call? Just
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a call of the wait a sec, where is it? The motion, this isn't the right one. Oh. I move, just a second. I got it, I'm there.
I moved the
I got it. He didn't call on you. Is that a fine?
I'm just trying to help.
I move the call be raised. Thank you.
the motion is to raise the call. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The ayes have it and call is raised.
Senators Baisley, Bridges,
Are we done with the call?
Senate will come to order. Committee reports.
April 30th, 2024, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1356 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Local Government and Housing, May 2nd, 2024. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1237 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1302 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1315 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. May 2nd, 2024, Committee on Finance. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 231 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 165 be postponed indefinitely. Senate Bill 166 be postponed indefinitely. Senate Bill 229 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. May 2nd, 2024, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1004 be referred favorably to the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1095 be referred favorably to the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1001 be referred favorably to the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1280 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1360 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1260 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1108 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations.
Message from the House.
May 2nd, 2024. Mr. President, the House has postponed indefinitely Senate Bill 158. The bill is returned herewith.
Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1379 by Representatives McCluskey and McCormick and Senators Roberts and Kirkmeyer, concerning the regulation of state waters in response to recent federal court action and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Finance. Sign the bills.
May 2nd, 2024, the President has signed House Bills 1011, 1056, 1122, 1154, 1227, 1232, 1251, 1253, 1256, 1272, 1285, 1293, 1305, 1374, and 1383.
Mr. Majority. Never mind, I don't need you. I don't need you. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we re-resolve into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and the Senate will re-resolve into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Marchman will take the chair. Yep.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we lay over the balance of today's special orders calendar, lay over until later in the day.
The motion is to lay over the balance of today's special orders calendar until later in the day. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the balance of today's special orders calendar will lay over until later in the day. Majority Leader, oh, never mind. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion's adopted. The committee will rise and report. I'm just gonna leave my stuff up here. We're just laying over to the
I think you're up.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
May 2nd, 2024. Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and makes the following recommendations. Thereon, Senate Bill 214 is amended, Senate Bill 223 is amended, Senate Bill 226 is amended, Senate Bill 205 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1010 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1030, House Bill 1059, House Bill 1175, House Bill 1283, House Bill 1288, House Bill 1304, House Bill 1308, House Bill 1322, House Bill 1351, House Bill 1370, House Bill 1453, House Bill 1461, House Bill 1465, House Bill 1466, House Bill 1451 laid over until May 2nd, 2024 and retaining their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 130, House Bill 1152, House Bill 1230, House Bill 1270 laid over until May 3rd, 2024 and retaining their place on the calendar.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration. No.
Just got to move the
Moving
report,
it.
please.
My bad. Oh, thank you. Mr. President, I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bills 214 is amended, 223 is amended, 226 is amended, 205 is amended, passed in second reading order and engrossed, placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1010 is amended, passed in second reading in order, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bills 1030, 1059, 1175, 1283, 1288, 1304, 1308, 1322, 1351, 1370, 1453, 1461, 1465, 1466, 1451 laid over until May 2nd and retain their place on the calendar. Senate Bill 130, House Bills 1152, 1230, 1270 laid over until May 3rd and retain their place on the calendar. Committee reports.
May 2nd, 2024. Committee on Finance, after consideration on the merits of committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 228 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 230 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Members, this is a rare thing, but the coat rule is relaxed, even though we're in the Senate. Frank didn't want Larry Liston to get sauce on his jacket or Dylan Roberts to. But actually, now that I think about it, I think it was just for himself. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up House Bill 1059, House Bill 1283, House Bill 1288, House Bill 1322, House Bill 1351, House Bill 1453, House Bill 1461, House Bill 1451, House Bill 1465, House Bill 1466, and House Bill 1304 on special orders at the hour of 7:04.
The motion is that the Senate take up all of those bills mentioned by the Majority Leader on special orders at the hour of 7:04 p.m. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will take up those bills on special orders at the hour of 7:04 p.m. Special order, second reading of bills. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the special orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Marchman will take the chair. per diem changes take effect.
The committee will come to order, and the coat rule remains relaxed for everybody up in here. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1059?
House Bill 1059 by Representatives English and Ricks and Senators Hansen and Winter concerning compensation for state elected officials and in connection therewith creating the Independent State Elected Official Pay Commission and modifying the amount of per diem allowed to members of the General Assembly for expenses incurred during sessions of the General Assembly.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1059 along with the SVMA committee report.
To the committee report.
Oh, and appropriations.
Oh,
Apologies.
there wasn't. No,
No,
appropriation.
because it's a House bill. I'll be quiet. I just want to move the SVMA committee report.
To that report.
Thank you for allowing me to correct that. Members, just one amendment adopted in SVMA, which was to make sure that the report from the Nonpartisan Pay Commission, Independent Pay Commission, goes to the head of Ledge Council. That was all we did in committee. I urge adoption of the report.
Seeing no other discussion, the motion is the adoption of the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Amendment 14?
L14, amendment.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I move L14 to House Bill 1059.
To the amendments.
Thank you. Members, L14 is designed to make sure that everyone that is being evaluated by the Independent Commission gets regular adjustments for inflation. We're just making sure that all the electeds that are being considered are included in any CPI adjustments. I urge the adoption of L14.
Is there any further discussion on L14? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of Amendment L14. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment 14 is passed. To the bill, Senator Pelton B.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was interested when I read this bill, because, is this one working? Okay. I was very interested when I read this bill, because when standing as a county commissioner, and a good senator from Cheyenne Wells when he was in the House actually ran a bill that allowed county commissioners and elected officials to be able to opt out of their salary increase if they choose to do so. I did that as a county commissioner. I actually opted out of my salary after COVID because the businesses were shut down. And when they were shut down for 5 months, they weren't getting any money at that point, so I didn't feel like it was right for me to take my salary. So it was a good option to have, and I'm going to ask for an amendment with the same thing in that area.
There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Amendment 15?
L15, amendment Gross Bill.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L15 to House Bill 1059.
To the amendment.
Thank you. What this does is it adds a Roman numeral number 2 on page 9 after line 16. Before the effective date of the recommended salaries and allowances, any member of the General Assembly may elect to keep the member's salary at the current amount and not receive the increase amount in accordance with this section if applicable. So one of the other reasons I thought this would be a good thing is if we had a huge recession, then we could do this if we choose to do so individually, especially in our districts. I'd kind of like to see the salaries tied to what rural schools teachers are making. I think that would be better, but I would be fine with that aspect of it. But I really like this amendment, so please, I add for an aye vote on L15.
Senator Hansen.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. And members, I would ask for a no vote on this amendment. I think there's two problems with going this direction in the bill. First of all, if somebody would like to not take their salary, there are lots of great charities in this fine state. They are very welcome to donate their salary if they would like. The second problem is if for some reason somebody couldn't finish their term of office and there was a vacancy committee, then what happens? Is that salary vacated for that seat for that term? I don't know, but I think it'd be pretty terrible to say to the incoming person who just took your spot, God forbid one of us dies, gets hit by the proverbial bus, or gets sick and has to resign, or a train to some nice city in the state of Colorado, you get hit, by golly, your replacement might not get their salary. So for those two reasons, I ask that we say no to this amendment.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I encourage a no vote because ultimately throughout this bill, we worked very hard to depoliticize this process, and leaving it up to individuals to make this decision through the political process just repoliticizes it at a higher level.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate, counties can do this. Counties do this now if they choose to do so. So politicizing it, it's already done at the local level. I don't think that they would, counties haven't made it political, but this can be done already at the local level. We're just matching ourselves up with what the local level does. You know, like I said, the good senator from Cheyenne Wells ran this bill in the House. We affectionately called it the Becker Amendment. I think that's what we called it. But still, that was part of it. I think this is an excellent amendment. I think we should be able to have that option to do so if we choose not to take it. So, or the raise or anything. So I ask for a yes vote on L15.
Seeing no further discussion on Amendment 15, all those in favor say aye. And opposed, no. That amendment fails. To the bill, Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard this bill in committee. I want to applaud the sponsors on the idea of creating a committee that is independent of the legislature to determine compensation. I think that's a very wise move. Part that I'm was also hoping would happen, inside the bill is also prescribing the mileage and per diem rates as a percentage of the federal standards. And I was kind of hoping that would be part of what the committee would decide as well. But otherwise, appreciate the bill. Thanks.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1059. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1059 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1283?
House Bill 1283 by Representatives Wilford and Marvin and Senator Malika, concerning a requirement that the Secretary of State review a campaign finance complaint that arises out of a municipal campaign finance matter under certain circumstances and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Malika.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I move House Bill 1283.
Is there any discussion on House Bill 1283? Senator Malika.
It's a great bill, members. This is about local elections. Local elections matter. We know elections matter, but local elections especially matter. I ask for a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1283. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. And House Bill 1283 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title of House Bill 1288?
House Bill 1288 by Representatives Rutinel and Sirota and Senator Hansen, concerning means of increasing the number of claims for certain income tax credits that support children and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1288 on second reading.
To the bill. Great. Seeing no discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1288. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. That bill's adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title of House Bill 1322?
House Bill 1322 by Representatives Brown and Byrd and Senators Kirkmeyer and Rodriguez, concerning the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing conducting a feasibility study to determine whether to seek federal authorization to provide services that address Medicaid members' health-related social needs and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee report from Healthcare, thank you, from Business, Labor, and Technology, and I also move the report from Appropriations.
To the...
Oh, there is no report.
I don't think there are any reports. No committee reports. So you can just move the bill.
All right, thank you. I move House Bill 241322.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1322. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1322 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1351?
House Bill 1351 by Representatives Amable and Lindstedt and Senators Lundin and Priola concerning the continuation of functions related to banking and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations in the 2023 Sunset Report from the Department of Regulatory Agencies for the Division of Banking and the Banking Board.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1351 and the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report.
To the BLT report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We vastly improved the bill in Business, Labor, and Technology by removing Section 9. Ask for an aye vote.
The motion is the Senator Gonzalez. To the committee report.
Why, thank you, Madam Chair. I like how it got real quiet in here all of a sudden. Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I read this committee report with interest, and it seems to me that the amendments that were adopted in the committee weaken the policy. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to encourage a no vote on this committee report in order to restore back the recommendations that were made by DORA in their sunset report back into this otherwise well-crafted and thoughtfully constructed policy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The motion is the adoption. Senator Mullica.
Just wanted to restate the request for an affirmative, a positive vote on the adoption of the committee report.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Monument, the good senator from Commerce City, Henderson. But thank you to the good senator from Denver.
Look at this.
Because, members, she is right. What happened in the committee did weaken this policy. We oftentimes hear from the department, and a lot of work goes into making these sunsets, and I think that's exactly what we saw here, is that the department spent time. This wasn't just arbitrarily done. They looked at this policy, and they wanted to make sure that credit unions did have this ability to do it. And so I would agree with the good senator from Denver, is that we're here to do the good work for the people of Colorado. We know the role that credit unions play. We know that they're local. We know that they are member-owned. And what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that we have better options for the people of Colorado. And by stripping off what happened in the committee, we made this bill weaker. And I would ask that we not adopt the committee report.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, members, I serve on the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, and we heard the full testimony from both sides. I commend the good senator from Monument and the good senator from Brighton for bringing this bill and going through all of the nuances of the sunset bill. Like I say, we heard the complete testimony from both sides, whether it was from the good people on the credit union side or the good people on the banking side. They both made their case, and the committee members, of which I'm one, as well as the other 6 members on the committee, we listened to the arguments and the testimony. They were fair and delivered very eloquently, and we made our vote, and we made the decision to take out just one section out of many sections in this committee report, and I would ask for an aye vote to accept the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report. I urge an aye vote.
Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll never question the work that the Business and Labor Technology Committee does. I've visited that committee, and I know that they dig into the policy. Members, this is really about these credit unions being able to purchase essentially distressed assets or banks that are in trouble. And so what we're talking about is trying to make sure that some of these communities, some of these hard-to-serve, vulnerable communities, still have an option, and being able to have the ability for a credit union to take over, I think is a right thing. And I think that it's good for these communities to have access to these financial institutions. And so I would ask for us to not adopt this committee report so that we can continue going down this path, and so we can continue taking taking the ability for these communities to have access to these financial institutions and letting these credit unions purchase these distressed assets. And so I would ask us not to adopt the committee report.
Senator Gonzalez.
Madam Chair, it's a little loud in here, so
Can the chamber please come to order? Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the good senator from Thornton said I was right.
Minority Leader Lundin. Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in a continuation of this chain of who's right and who's wrong, I'm going to have to say that in saying that this is about this big policy conversation of what credit unions do, what community banks do, what investment banks do, that it is right to have that conversation, I would say that is not correct, because this is a sunset bill. This is about regulating banks. This is about the division that regulates banks. Section 9, the section that is in question, that was stricken by the committee, in the wisdom of the committee, I would say, has had a difficult and controversial background. What this debate about right now is whether it's appropriate for a regulatory body to legislate, to offer, since it doesn't have one of 5 bills, to offer and hijack and connect onto a sunset report the effort to legislate major policy changes into the statute books of Colorado. This is a recommendation, in short, that does not belong in this sunset legislation. The sunset report, when initially published, stated that credit unions, and this is critical, it's really wonky, it's really detailed, it's really regulatory in nature, but it matters. Credit unions pay taxes, and therefore this recommendation has no impact on the state. But the reality is that's not accurate. Credit unions do pay property taxes. We all do, too much. But they do not pay state corporate taxes, which is the effective tax that should have been, could have been, might have been a trigger for inclusion in the sunset report. But that is not the case. So that report had to be corrected and republished. But there's still an inaccuracy in the report. The sunset report states that when there is confusion or it's ambiguous in the sunset process, it's to present, or is there to clear up or resolve the ambiguous nature of the situation. The recommendation to authorize a credit union to purchase the assets of a bank was made to resolve that non-existent confusion. There is no confusion. It is not ambiguous. The statutes, the law books, the black words on white pages and red books of Colorado are clear. It says a bank shall, non-permissive, prescriptive, directive language, sell to a bank. Now, if we want to have the multi-hour policy conversation about credit unions, and I know I am a member of 2 credit unions, Wright-Patman Congressional Federal Credit Union, based in Washington, D.C., Ent Credit Union. So I do business, have done business with credit unions. I love my credit unions. And I've also done a lot of banking over the course of my life. With community banks, small business owner, little companies. Biggest company was 150 employees at its peak. And I had significant, meaningful relationships in the banking and business world with my banks, community banks. And I've done some bigger deals that had a third type of bank or a third type of financial institution involved, investment banks. And so I've worked with investment banks. Credit unions do one thing. Community banks do another thing. Investment banks do a third thing. Now, is there a little bit of blur around the edges? Occasionally, yes, there is. There potentially is. And so now here I've gone. I said, let's not have the policy conversation. And I'm diving off into the policy conversation, saying at some point we should talk about this. Credit unions doing one thing with a little teeny bit of bleed. Community banks doing another thing with a little bit of bleed on each side of that. Investment banks doing yet a third thing. That's a big policy conversation. But the point is, that policy conversation is a separate piece of legislation. It's a meaningful, significant, detailed conversation that should be stakeholdered. It should be litigated in the open hearing process of the General Assembly. 2 chambers, 2 bills dealing with that policy change. Not sliding something as a hook on a coattail ride along, mistakenly I put, and I will argue that is the accurate representation, put into a sunset bill. So, the net outcome of all of that, I urge the adoption, your yes vote on the adoption of the committee report to House Bill 1351.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too rise in support of adopting the sunset report to the banking sunset bill, House Bill 1351. I don't come down here in the well often, and I don't talk about the 16 now years I've been here, but on this subject, I'm going to expand a bit. Ever since I got down here, and probably before I was elected, there has been a turf war between credit unions and banks. I've seen it almost every year. I have absolutely no problem with credit unions. Credit unions serve their towns and their populations and their members, and banks, I actually have a problem with some banks now and then, but banks do their thing. But they're different animals. They are treated differently by federal and state statute. They have different insurance, different requirements, and the primary difference is one pays taxes and the other doesn't. But furthermore, I've been down here where the credit unions have crossed the line, and I don't know how to say it, but they were persona non grata down here for a number of years for a certain member of the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee in the House that they punished for a vote many years ago. Yes, I was here. Joe Rice. Yes. But see, many of you weren't here for that. And so now we're back. Many folks assume they forgot about that because there are not many people that have been around here many years. Now we're coming back to the turf war between the credit unions and the banks. They are different animals. They're treated different statutorily. And to slip this kind of policy change in a sunset report, to me, crosses the line. Let's have a clean sunset report to simply allow the regulation of banks to go forward with some minor tweaks. The other minor tweaks in the sunset are not, no one even really brought them up in testimony. I'm not sure about the House. But here we are. We have 4 or 5 days left in session, and we're having a spirited, long debate over adopting a committee report. So I guess the credit union bank wars are on again. And if you haven't had enough of the liquor wars, get ready for the credit union bank wars. And they'll say, how are the credit union bank wars started back up? Well, you know, it started with the Sunset Report back in 2024. There was a piece in the détente for a number of years after a former chair of a committee was taken out. But now we're back to the credit union and bank wars. Members, credit unions serve their community well. They do a good job. But they statutorily and regulatorily and insurance-wise are treated separately because they are treated tax-wise separately. Banks are treated separately, regulatory, federal insurance, so on and so forth, because they pay taxes. And if a credit union really wants to get into the banking business, they can charter as a bank or vice versa. I'm sure there's a way for a bank to charter as a credit union somehow, some way. But to buy loans that were written by a bank and then, oh, now I'm a member of a credit union? Well, I used to be with a bank. Oh, we bought their assets. Well, I don't want to be with a credit union. Well, sorry. We snuck something into a Sunset Report, and now that's what's going on in the state of Colorado. Members, I ask for an aye vote on the acceptance of the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report.
Senator Mullica, and then we've got Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I renew my opposition to the committee report. I will say that I have great admiration for our banks, especially our small community banks and the services that they provide to the people of Colorado and to our rural neighbors in those communities. Members, but I want to be clear what we're doing here. There was no sneaking. This was put into a sunset by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. So there's no sneaking. This is all a public process, and I think that this is good that we're having this debate because I think that we need to get some facts on the table here about what we're trying to do here and what the recommendations were. So, members, in 46 other states, a bank can consider selling its assets to a credit union. And I want to be clear here, too, that we're not requiring them to sell those assets. We're providing options. And I think that when I think about a capitalistic society, options and choices typically benefit the consumer. And so when we're looking at this, and we're looking at the states that don't allow credit unions to obtain or purchase those assets, it's Colorado, Nebraska, Mississippi, and South Carolina. And so it is the overwhelming majority of our country that allows this to happen and offers this option, not requirement, option. And so I think about that scenario if you do have a bank that may be going out of business in Holyoke, Colorado, or some small community, and you have a credit union that has the ability and the resources to purchase that bank to keep that financial institution afloat and to keep that financial institution in that community, I think that's good for the community. Now, you're right. Credit unions, they're nonprofit, and they are member-owned, but this thought process that credit unions don't pay taxes, we heard they do pay property taxes, and I think the minority leader mentioned that maybe property taxes are too high. They are. Yeah. But they also pay sales and payroll taxes as well. And so, yeah, so do banks. I agree. And so this concept that they don't pay any taxes, I think we need to make sure that we're being clear on that. And members, again, what this is about choice. This is about making sure that some of these communities have options, and that when a bank may get into trouble or may be going out of business, that we have options for that bank to potentially stay afloat and potentially still provide services to these communities. And that's what I view this as what was trying to happen here in this sunset that was written by the Department of Regulatory Agencies in a public fashion. And so, again, I renew my opposition to the committee report, and I ask for a no vote.
Senator Gonzalez, and then we'll have Senator Liston.
All right, y'all, we could spend all night here. But I know that we have lots of other bills and we have members of the public who are waiting to testify on the several other bills that we need to get to in committee. So this will be the last time I come to the well to speak on this issue. This notion that somehow the DORA process of sunset review is not a transparent one, I think undermines the entirety of our sunset review process. They made the recommendation for a reason when 46 states already allow these types of transactions to take place. Colorado is an outlier. So, to strike that recommendation to allow credit unions to purchase banks, I think, leaves us as an outlier when, in fact, most of the country already allows this to happen and take place. One. Two, to argue that this is somehow not germane to this conversation, have the fight in another policy, when in fact this came straight out of the recommendations, strikes me as a bit of a loose argument. So with that, I again, for the last time, ask for a no vote on this committee report. Adopt the bill as it was re-engrossed. Thank you.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, members, I don't want to belabor things. Number one, just because other states do it doesn't mean that we have to do it. Another point that hasn't been brought up is the area of expertise. Unfortunately, and I say this as a member of the largest credit union in the state. I'm a 50-year member of the largest credit union in the state. I have nothing against credit unions. I've been a member forever. But it's been talked about the credit unions wanting to buy these small banks in eastern Colorado and so forth. Well, what was brought out in great detail is, unfortunately, the lack of expertise in agricultural lending by the credit unions. The total amount of agricultural loans, I think for the past year, whatever the exact year was $76 million by the credit unions, whereas banks have vast expertise in, and especially these community banks that run into the hundreds of millions of dollars. They know and understand the agricultural community where the credit unions do not. My credit union, which is headquartered in Colorado Springs, they barely know where the ag community is. So no offense to that credit union. So members, we want to talk about areas of expertise, and unfortunately, the credit unions, as good as they are, they fulfill a purpose. When it comes to the agricultural loan expertise, they do not have it where the banks do, especially the community banks. I urge an aye vote to adopt the business report. Thank you very much.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, my information on the ability of this to be done is much different than what else has been said in the well. My understanding is there are only 2 other states in the nation that allow this. All the other states are silent. And my understanding is also that DORA never showed up to defend the report in either of the committees, which I ran sunset reviews many times. And we've taken things in and out of the initial legislation that came from the sunset report. And we've always had the department show up and explain the reasons for why they put X, Y, or Z, A, B, or C into the sunset report. So I find that curious that the department itself would not even show up to defend their decision. And this wasn't in the credit union sunset. Like, we're crossing 2 different regulatory regimes and setting this in statute to, for some reason, credit unions are not happy with being credit unions. They want to purchase bank assets. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. Grow the credit union assets. Get those depositors, get those lenders or folks to come in and write loans with you. I don't understand why you need to buy accounts and notes from banks, especially when they are treated in such different ways through the federal system, FDIC, and I forget what the credit union equivalent is named, and at the state level as well, they have separate tracks of regulation. Members, I ask you for an aye vote on adopting the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report to House Bill 1351.
Minority Leader Lundin.
Renew the call for an aye vote.
The motion is division. I'm sorry. Division has been requested. Okay. A division has been requested. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated. The motion is the adoption of the Business, Labor, and Technology report. All those in favor, please stand. Please be seated. All those opposed, please stand. The chair is not in doubt. The motion, what is that? The motion for the adoption of the Business, Labor, Technology Committee passed. Minority Leader Lundin.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of 1351.
Is there further discussion on 1351? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1351. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is passed. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1453?
House Bill 1453 by Representative Ricks and Senators Coleman and Colker concerning the relocation of the Climber Act from the Department of the Treasury to the Office of Economic Development.
Senator Colker.
I move House Bill 1453 on second reading and ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1453. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1453 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title of House Bill 1461?
House Bill 1461 by Representatives Martinez and Pugliese and Senator Gonzalez concerning an exemption from the limit on earned time awarded to nonviolent offenders who complete an accredited higher education program.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move 1461.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1461. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1461 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1451?
House Bill 1451 by Representatives Herod and Ricks and Senators Buckner and Coleman concerning protections against discrimination based on hair length that is associated with one's race.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We move House Bill 1451 on second reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1451. All those in favor say aye.
Aye!
Opposed, no. And the ayes have it. House Bill 1451 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1465?
House Bill 1465 by Representatives Byrd and Sirota and Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer concerning changes related to programs funded with money the state received from the Federal Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund in connection therewith changing appropriations.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 24,146,5 and ask for an aye vote.
And the Appropriation Committee.
And the Appropriation Committee report.
Great. To the Appropriation Committee report. Senator Zenzinger.
Yes, in the Appropriations Committee, we actually did the calculations to do the swap.
Great. Is there any discussion, any further discussion on the Appropriation Committee? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. That committee report is adopted. To the bill. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1465. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. The ayes have it. That bill is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 1466?
House Bill 1466 by Representatives Byrd and Taggart and Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer concerning exchanging money received from the Federal Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund with state money and in connection therewith ensuring that money received from the Federal Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund is spent in accordance with deadlines established in federal law and making and reducing appropriations.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1466 on second reading and the Appropriations Report.
Great. Is there any further discussion on, I didn't see an Appropriation Committee report.
Perfect.
So we'll just move forward with the House bill. Seeing no further discussion on House Bill 1466, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1466 is adopted. Senatorial 5. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title of House Bill 1304?
House Bill 1304 by Representatives
Y'all
Hill
are
and
getting all
Woodrow
giddy. Would you please be a little bit quieter? Thank you.
and Senators Pirola and Hinrichsen concerning parking requirements within metropolitan planning organizations.
Nick. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1304 and offer
There is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment 45?
L45.
Senator
amendment-
Henriksen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This removes errant reference to curbside. Ask for an aye vote. And I move L45.
Senator Michelson Janae. What? Great. The motion is the adoption of Amendment 45. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Amendment 45. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment 45 is adopted. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Amendment 59?
L59 amendment regards bill, page 12, after line 8, insert 2935-104, limitations on minimum parking requirements. One,
Senator
notwithstanding
Michelson
section-
Janae?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L59.
To the amendments.
This allows flexibility for local government to impose parking minimums if they can show that the development proposal would not be safe. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion? Senator Mullica.
Sorry, Madam Chair, can I get a senatorial 5 to try to look at this real quick?
Absolutely. Senatorial 5. We'll come back to order. Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Commerce City. I know how hard she's been working on this to address concerns, and I think I probably share some of the same concerns that she has. Members, this has been a journey. I'm just going through all my notes here from each time we've laid this bill over and laid amendments over. I think we're up to 3 times now. That is confirmed. We started off, I have notes here, essentially a large portion of Amendment 59 was started off as Amendment 26, and we debated. And so I'm going off of that, and we had a lot of conversations. I'm trying to look at the difference here, and it looks like one of the big differences that we debated last time on this similar amendment is going from 30 days to 90 days, which I think is a big change and really allows our local governments to have ample opportunity to try to get some of this information. I think one of the issues that I'm still having, though, is that when we are looking at affordable housing and we're looking at how we want affordable housing to be built, in my community, a lot of those folks who need affordable housing also need their car or they need their truck. And that truck may be their work truck, and maybe they're a laborer, or maybe they're a plumber. And so I think, like, when I look at this, what I read here in the first paragraph, and I'll read it out loud because I just want to make sure that we're understanding this right. A local government may impose or enforce a minimum parking requirement in connection with a housing development project that is intended to contain 20 units, that's the same as before, or more, and not contain regulated affordable housing by requiring no more than 1 parking space per dwelling unit in the housing development. And so the way I'm reading this is that if it is intended to contain 20 units or more, or not be affordable, then the local government can basically, at a minimum, require 1 parking space per dwelling unit. And I think that that's what I'm struggling with, members, is that if our goal is to build affordable housing and we're going to run this amendment, is to make sure that the correct affordable housing is being built and to make sure that we are addressing the needs and demands of those who will be trying to obtain this affordable housing. I'm curious of why we're taking the guardrails completely off. And so I do have an amendment. Yeah, this is an amendment to the amendment. Oh, we have to adopt, okay.
We have to.
So we will pass that. And so, but I do want to make this point when we're looking at Amendment 59 to make clear what it says here, that it says that if it's 20 units or more and that it does not contain regulated affordable housing by requiring no more than 1 parking space per dwelling unit in the housing development. I am just struggling to wrap my head around this, and that we're taking away these guardrails. And so right now we have guardrails up and we have parking requirements, and we can debate and we can obviously question if we require too much parking or if there's wasted space for parking. But at the end of the day, I think that there's also an argument that there needs to be some sort of parking. And if we're going to put this completely in the purview of a developer, that it's going to be similar to I think the analogy I used last time we were debating this is it's similar to water, that it will go the easiest path. And that when we look at this and we look at what a developer's business model is, and this is to no fault of a developer, that they want to maximize their profit. And especially when they're trying to build affordable housing, which is already a hard thing to do to maximize their profit. And so what we're saying now is that look, if it's over 20 units and not affordable in this amendment, the city, you can require one parking. Now, if it's not affordable, then gloves are off. And that's the way I'm reading this. And I think that when we look at that, and again, this is not faulting the developer, but when we look at this and we look at the requirements that we're putting on, I think that my preference is to at least have some guardrails to work within. And to take those guardrails completely off, to go from having, I don't know, let's say, I know the good senator from Pueblo who's not in the well right now and the sponsor of this bill. I believe he has a background in transportation. I don't. I'm an ER nurse. I'll admit that. But to just discussing an amendment. But if we're at 2.5 parking spaces, if we're requiring 2.5 parking spaces, and we take it down to even one, it's at least that's some sort of parameters. At least that's some sort of guardrails. And I'm just not seeing those guardrails. And I think I'm just curious too about how this system works. I know that the good senator from Weld County, I know the good senator from Arvada, good senator from Commerce City have spoken on this. But I'm just wondering too, how do we get issues addressed, and how do we try to find out what friendly amendments are? Because I do think that there's a way to make Amendment 59 better, and I look forward to that opportunity to find a way to make Amendment 59 better, because I think it can be a change of simple words that we can make Amendment 59 allow for certain parameters or certain guardrails to be put in, so that we can make sure that when we're building affordable housing, and that we know the folks who need affordable housing and also need their cars, that we're ensuring that they're going to have places to put their cars, that they're going to have a place to park their car, and that all affordable housing that gets built isn't going to be affordable housing that has no parking spaces because a developer may have wanted to try to find a way to maximize their profit. And I think that that's the concern at really the crux of House Bill 1304 and looking at Amendment 59 that I'm struggling with is, how do we make sure that happens? How do we make sure that when we're trying to achieve this goal, which I think all of us can agree that we need to build more affordable housing, but that in doing that we also are ensuring that folks who need their cars, if it's a work truck or if it's just a car to get from point A to point B, that they're going to have that ability, and they're not going to be required to rent or buy an affordable housing unit that doesn't have that available parking, when we know that vehicle or that work truck can be so important to them. And I think that's what I'm trying to figure out is, when we're looking at that and we're looking at, will that happen? I haven't gotten a straight answer. I haven't gotten an answer on if we don't have guardrails here, and we don't have the ability to put parameters around this or requirements around this, then what's going to make that happen? And I don't know. I haven't gotten that answer. I would love to get that answer, other than, the developer will obviously do it. They can't sell a house or they can't rent a unit without parking. I think that's putting a little too much faith there. I think that we need to make sure that our job here is to ensure that we at least set a foundation, or we at least set a floor. And I think that's what I see in Amendment 59. I see that opportunity. I see that opportunity that we can set that floor, and that we can obviously offer some of these guardrails that I think are important to make sure that when affordable housing, or if affordable housing gets built, that it also has ample parking, and that the parking spaces that are offered are not at the level that doesn't meet the needs of the folks who are trying to rent that, who need the affordable housing and also need their cars. And so I really thank the good senator from Commerce City for drafting this and for making some changes to 59 from what used to be Amendment 26 and adding 90 days in there, because I do think that helps the localities meet the timeline. When we know the localities, they have to have public hearings. City councils only have 2 meetings a month often that have actionable items. I think that's important, and not the fact that we should be trying to to put this off on a city manager, that this needs to happen by local elected officials that are put there by the people that they represent. But I still look at that first paragraph, obviously thankful for the 90 days, but I still look at that first paragraph and I'm just not seeing guardrails. And I think that there's an opportunity to put those guardrails in to address this and to make sure that we at least as a state are able to create a minimum, are able to create these guardrails that can protect these folks who badly need affordable housing. And I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think that we can have this conversation, we can have this debate on if we have too much space for parking and if it's being wasted and what it's doing to our ability to build affordable housing. I think that's all valid. I really do. I think it's all valid. But I also don't know how you go from having a certain guardrail, right or wrong, that's debatable, to having no guardrail at all. And I think that that's what I'm struggling with. And so I really would like to have that conversation. I really would like to find a way to at least have a floor, to at least have some sort of parameters of making sure that when we're building affordable housing, we're dealing with people in our community that are needing more affordable housing, but also needing a vehicle, that we're doing all that we can to meet those demands, and that we're not putting this in the developer's lap, and that we're not saying, oh, developer, we'll trust you. We'll trust you to do the right thing. We'll trust you to build all the parking spaces and the appropriate number of parking spaces that you need. That no, we say as a state, look, we understand that maybe our current rates are too much, and that we need to put more of a minimum in there, but at least have a minimum, at least have a floor, at least have some guardrails. And I think that we can do this through Amendment 59. I think that there's that ability to do it. But we also need to make sure that when we're building affordable housing, needed affordable housing, that all new affordable housing isn't going to be built without adequate parking. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to the residents. I don't think that's fair to our constituents. I don't think that's fair to the people of Colorado to say all affordable housing that's going to be built is not, like, there's no requirement to have adequate parking. And all I'm trying to say is fine, let's lower it, but at least let's put a floor on it. At least let's put some guardrails on it. Let's not just throw our hands up and walk away and say, here, developers, we trust you. You do that. You do that. This is in your purview. No, that's our job. That's governing. That's what we're supposed to do. And what we're saying is that what this is saying is that affordable housing, anything else outside of affordable housing or 20 units or more, that's fine. But if it's affordable housing, you can't do that. You can't do that. That makes absolutely no sense to me. When we know the folks who need affordable housing are oftentimes that need their car or their work truck the most, but we're going to take that away. And we're going to say, here, developer whose job is to maximize their profit, no fault of their own, maximize their profit, take the easiest path, water flows the easiest path. And then what we do is then all new housing development, what I'm afraid of, all new affordable housing development isn't going to have adequate parking. I don't think that that's unfounded. I don't think that that's out of question. I think that's a real possibility when we look at how a market works. Look, I know the good senator from Pueblo specializes in this area, and I know he's smart in this area, and I may not be smart in this area. I'll give that to you. I may not be the smartest guy. We know that math is not my thing. The good senator from Highlands Ranch has pointed that out. But man, I am struggling to wrap my head around this, because at the end of the day, we know that we need more affordable housing. I think we can all agree on that. I think we all hear from our constituents we need more affordable housing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run a bill that says, okay, let's find a way to build more affordable housing. And we're going to run an amendment, but the affordable housing we build we're not going to require that to have any parking, actually. That's up to you. If you want to have parking, have parking. If not, you don't have to have parking. So we go from requiring 2.5 spaces per dwelling unit to requiring no spaces per dwelling unit. That's a pretty big jump. I believe in taking steps. I believe in seeing what works. Maybe let's not jump in the deep end when you don't know how to swim, and I don't know how to swim. I'll just make that on the record right now. I'm not sure if we jump in the deep end. Let's see if it works. Let's go down to 1 unit. Let's say, okay, well, you have to at least have 1 unit. Because right now, this amendment and this bill is saying you don't have to have any parking spaces. And I don't understand this. I do not understand this, because when I go out and I talk to my community and I'm knocking doors and I'm seeing my community, I see how important their vehicles are. Now, don't get me wrong, there's people in my community that use transit, and I believe in transit. And again, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I know there's probably other amendments that are coming. I know that there's amendments that have been talked about, how close you are to a bus route or a transit unit. But, at the end of the day, like 2 words can fix this. 2 words can fix this to make sure. Yeah. I'm getting a little dry mouth from talking so much. I apologize. No, I don't think so. I think we need to talk about this, because this is important. This is important. This is something that we hear about, and it's something that we see in our communities. And we know that we want to build more affordable housing, but to say that there's some people in my community that can't use transit. Let's be honest. There's some people in my community that they're pipe fitters or they're electricians or plumbers, and they need their work trucks. And so when we look at that, and so when we oh,
Rest your
oh,
voice,
thank you.
Senator
Thank-
Mullica.
I'm parched. So I'm telling you right now, thank you. So, no, I'm thirsty. So I do think that we have the opportunity, members, on a serious note, stay away from that water. Thank you. Doubled it up. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I'm getting to that point. If you just give me a sec, please. So we are talking about this, and I want the record to reflect that in Amendment 59, there is a lot of good things in Amendment 59, and the good senator from Commerce City changed some things. And 90 days was a huge thing that we talked about the last time that we were up. I think we gavelled out 3 times now and took a recess 3 times on this. But members, when you look at Amendment 59, it specifically says, and not contain regulated affordable housing. And so basically what it's telling me is that if it's affordable housing, you can't put any parking minimums on there. And so I'm simply trying to say 2 words. 2 words solves this. I just want to be clear. 2 words. If you take out and not, and you put in or. And look, I'm prepared that we're going to talk about that. And we're going to try to fix this because I do think it's important. I also think it's important, the underlying reason for the bill, trying to build more affordable housing. We all agree with that. If we think that there's wasted space, let's talk about that. But let's not take the guardrails completely away. Let's not take away the floor completely away. Let's try to make sure that we have some guardrails, that we have a floor. We can do that in Amendment 59. I look forward to talking about that a little more once we get through Amendment 59.
Great. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Members, I think we've all talked about this bill some over the past couple of days. It's been laid over a couple of different times, and I think it might be good to at least lay out kind of what has been going on here is My concern when I first started talking with regard to this bill was that we were undermining local government control and preempting local governments. So over the course of the last 48 hours, working with the sponsors, the good senator from Pueblo in particular, with the Colorado Municipal League, myself and the good senator from Arvada worked to get a series of amendments. And they start with Amendment 59. And Amendment 59 is laying the groundwork for basically about another 12 to 13 amendments. Because of the layovers, the changes from going from committees to journals, we had to keep changing all the amendments around. We had amendments that were getting laid over in the middle of after all of us talking about them for an hour or so. So we need 59 to be passed first. Now, I'm not up here to tell you that I'm supporting the bill, but I am grateful to the good senator from Pueblo for working with us, myself and the good senator from Arvada, to get some amendments on to limit the scope, if you will, of the preempting of local governments. So this first one, we change things like shall to may, stating that the local government may impose or enforce a minimum parking requirement. And I can certainly appreciate the good senator from Thornton and members. Can we ask everybody to just...
Could we keep it down a little so we can hear the speaker, please? Thank you so much. Senator Kirkmeyer, please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I appreciate what the good senator from Thornton is saying. And there does need to be guardrails, and there does need to be not as much preempting or any preempting, but I think through the amendments you're going to see that we have really worked, and so has the sponsor, the good senator from Pueblo, to kind of calm down some of the preemption. Again, doesn't mean I'm supporting the bill, but I do support the amendment. It's a start. And again, we were able to work with the Colorado Municipal League to get some, what I believe, good amendments in place, things that I was and the good senator from Arvada the other day were speaking to, and even the good senator from Thornton were speaking to. I think he'll feel once he hears all of our amendments and they're talked through that he'll have that understanding. So I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of what's coming up. So this first one, this First Amendment allows now for local governments that they can require a certain amount of parking and that there is an opportunity for modification or elimination, but there also could be an administrative and a more objective process, that it's not going to be just left up to the developer to decide. That's what this First Amendment does and starts putting it into place. Then there are several amendments where we start changing things, where we're striking curbside space and they'll be putting in limiting to off-street parking. We'll be limited to regulated affordable housing. So not all residential housing within a half mile of a transit center or a bus stop. Those things will start being narrowed down to what's realistic in Colorado, in our area, in the metropolitan planning organization areas that are within our state. If you live in an MPO, and I think most of you know if you live in an MPO or not, I've identified those a few times now, but if you live in an MPO and you have a transit type system, whether it's, mostly it's going to be buses that run on a 15 to 30 minute cycle in high peak times, we're talking about areas around there and trying to encourage, I believe what the good senator from Pueblo is trying to do is encourage development of affordable housing, development close to transit centers so that they would have that type of transportation available to them. So there's going to be amendments that limit it to regulated affordable housing that will remove real property and put in a land use approval, which a land use approval does start putting guidelines on things and guardrails. The part that I spoke about the other day that will be added on again to this amendment, but we need this amendment first, will remove the ineligibility for grant based on removal of parking requirements. Remember how we talked about that just seemed in conflict and didn't seem like it made sense? So we were able to remove that. So if you do, if a local government does require minimum parking, they're not being penalized and they're still able to go get a grant. Reporting requirements. There's another amendment that will strike reporting requirements. There's another amendment that delays, or this was already in the bill actually, delaying the effect until after the state study. We made sure that that was taking place. There's an exemption with regard to the parking study because again, a shell got changed to May. That's a big move. Not as big as I would like it, but it's a big move. We're requiring frequency, whether it's light rail or even if it's other types of transit like bus stops. They limited the distance from the transit centers. So again, it's not a half mile. It's narrowed down to a quarter mile. I know that there are some folks that may not really like that and want it even further down because to them that makes more sense. But this is what we were able to work out over the last couple of days, again, with the Colorado Municipal League and the good sponsor, good senator from Pueblo. So again, we're striking things like adaptive use in another amendment, requiring bus routes to have stops, not just the route. So there's a lot to happen here this evening with regard to this bill. This is the first amendment. I think the sponsors would appreciate if you we would have a little bit of patience that they can get into, and it would be my hope that the sponsors would really explain the amendments.
The motion is the adoption of Amendment 59. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment 59 is adopted. There is an amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we lay this bill over until tomorrow, the 3rd.
The motion is to lay 1304 over until tomorrow. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're going to lay it over till tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Great. Opposed, no. Thank you. The aye has it. And we're going to rise and report.
It's fine. Senate will come to order. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met and considered a number of bills. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the report?
May 2nd, 2024. Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it as had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1059 is amended. House Bill 1283. House Bill 1288. House Bill 1322. House Bill 1351 is amended. House Bill 1453. House Bill 1461. House Bill 1451. House Bill 1465 is amended. House Bill 1466 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1304 is amended, laid over until May 3rd, 2024, and retaining is placed on the calendar.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report.
Senatorial 5.
Senate will stand in a senatorial 5. The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. There is an amendment at the desk. Members, the coat roll is still relaxed. It's relaxed. Will the clerk please read Cow Amendment 1 to House Bill 1304?
S001, Senator Van Winkle moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to show that House Bill 1304 as amended was laid over to May 9th, 2024.
Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of the long and vigorous debate on House Bill 1304 and the amount of work that this body needs to do, important work for the people of Colorado, I move Cow Amendment 1.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this amendment would do is show that 1304 was not laid over until tomorrow, but in fact was laid over until May 9th.
Is there any discussion? Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we ask for a no vote on this cow, just to underline, a no vote.
Senator Gardner. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Here's your chance. I haven't even started on this. Vote yes.
Senator Van Winkle. Just remove it. Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just to be clear, I move the first Cow Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
The motion for the body is the adoption of Cow Amendment 1 to House Bill 1304. Are there any no votes? Senators Roberts, Exum, Hansen, Rodriguez. Just got real quiet. Coleman, Winter, Cutter, Marchman, Henriksen, Fields, Sullivan, Bridges, Jaquez Lewis, Gonzalez, Priola, Michelson Janae, Danielson, Buckner.
I've been wrong before. I thought Hillary Clinton was going to be president.
Okay. Please have the president. With a vote of 16 ayes, 19 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Cow Amendment 1 is lost. The motion for the body is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. House Bill 1059 is amended. House Bill 1283, 1288, 1322, 1351 is amended. 1453, 1461, 1451, 1465 is amended. 1466 passed in second reading in order to revise and place on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1304 is amended, laid over until May 3rd, and retained its place on the calendar. Consideration of House amendments to Senate bills. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 215?
Senate Bill 215 by Senators Zenzinger and Bridges and Representatives Byrd and Sirota concerning modification of the effective date of House Bill 24-1421.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What's the number?
I move
Senate
that
Bill
the Senate
215.
concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 215.
Is there any explanation?
Yes,
Senator Zenzinger.
when we passed the bill out of the Senate, there was a blank that was to be filled in when the bill went over to the House. In order to wait for the first bill that we were amending with this bill to pass and be signed into law. That has happened, and so we were able to fill in the blank on the safety clause to the safety clause. And so we ask for your aye vote.
The motion is that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 215. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the motion is adopted. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 215.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the repassage of Senate Bill 215. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 215 is repassed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 86?
Senate Bill 86 by Senators Rich and Michelson Janae, Representatives Byrd and Weinberg, concerning the Breast and Cervical Cancer Prevention and Treatment Fund in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Michelson Janae.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 86.
Is there an explanation? Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the House, there were 2 amendments added to the bill. The First Amendment allows the transfer of funds to continue for 2 additional years. The Second Amendment provides spending authority for the Breast Cancer Screening Fund, which is necessary for for the fund to spend the newly allocated dollars. The spending authority issue was overlooked in the initial chamber, which is why it was addressed in the House. We support these changes to the bill and ask for the Senate to concur with House amendments.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 86. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the motion is adopted. Senator Michelson-Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 86.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the repassage of Senate Bill 86. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 86 is repassed. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 173?
Senate Bill 173 by Senators Roberts and Gardner and Representatives Soper and Tatone, concerning the regulation of persons providing mortuary sign services in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 173.
Is there an explanation?
Thank you, Mr. President. The House made a few adjustments to the effective dates and added in a provision in which there could be peer review to allow somebody to obtain their license after a provisional period.
The motion is that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 173. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the motion is adopted. Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 173.
The motion is for the repassage of Senate Bill 173. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Smallwood, Pelton-R. With a vote of 32 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 173 is repassed. Co-sponsors. Consideration of governor's appointments. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read all of the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Members of the State Electrical Board for terms expiring July 1st, 2026. Monique Cisneros of Castle Rock, Colorado, to serve as a journeyman electrician who's not an electrical contractor, reappointed. Matthew Williams of Grand Junction, Colorado, to serve as an electrical utility professional, member appointed. Brent Nilsson of Arvada, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the public at large, appointed. Members of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers, effective July 2nd, 2023. For a term expiring July 1, 2026, Daisy Glassburn of Parker, Colorado, to serve as a real estate appraiser, appointed. Robert Cielo Jr. of Fort Collins, Colorado, to serve as a real estate appraiser, appointed. Brent Goff of Palisade, Colorado, to serve as a county assessor, appointed. Members of the State Plumbing Board for a term expiring July 1st, 2026, Charles Lee of Grand Junction, Colorado, a person engaged in the construction of residential commercial buildings as a plumbing contractor occasioned by the resignation of Justin Guerrero of Greenwood Village, Colorado, appointed. For terms expiring July 1, 2027, Daniel Sanchez of Broomfield, Colorado, to serve as a public member at large, appointed. Albert Rogers of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a representative of general contractors, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of all the appointments on the consideration of governor's appointment consent calendar, which include Monique Cisneros, Matthew Williams, Brett Nielsen for the State Electrical Board, Daisy Glassburn, Robert Stilo Jr., Brett Goff for the Board of Real Estate Appraisers, Charles Lee, Daniel Sanchez, and Albert Rogers for the State Plumbing Board.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of all of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senators Pelton B. You know you're no on all of them? Okay. With a vote of 34 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the appointments are confirmed. Consideration of conference committee reports. Will the clerk please read the title of House Bill 1348?
House Bill 1348 by Representatives Velasco and Garcia and Senators Huckes, Lewis, and Fields, concerning a requirement to securely store a firearm in a vehicle.
Senator Huckes Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate reject the first report of the first conference committee on House Bill 1348, dissolve the conference committee, and that a second conference committee be appointed.
The motion is to reject the first report of the first conference committee on House Bill 1348.
Oh, they're doing.
To dissolve the first conference committee and to appoint a second conference committee.
Going for two.
Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 0 excused, the motion is adopted. Senator Hawkins Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that the conference committee, the second one, on House Bill 1348 be given permission to go beyond the scope of the differences between the two houses.
The motion before the body is to grant permission to the conferees on the first conference committee in House Bill 1348 to go beyond the scope of the differences between the two houses. All in favor say aye.
Yeah, go beyond. Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it and permission is granted.
I'm reappointing Van Winkle. Where do I need to sign?
Yes, we want Kevin.
Is it the same committee? They dissolved there.
There you go. Thank you, ma'am.
They dissolved the committees.
Van Winkle.
Announcements. Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Health and Human Services Committee, we are going to be meeting in room 352. And we are going to be meeting in 7 minutes. Can I do that? 15? We are going to be meeting in 15 minutes.
Further announcements. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, we will meet upon adjournment. And we are meeting in a new room. We're in the old Supreme Court Agriculture Committee. We have House Bill 1458, 1024, and 1006. 15 minutes upon adjournment.
Senator Malika.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we are officially in a recess for Senate Finance Committee and will be reconvening 15 minutes upon adjournment to hear House Bill 1249, House Bill 1268, House Bill 1449, House Bill 1051, House Bill 1314, House Bill 1365, House Bill 1157, House Bill 1353.
Senator Kolker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request to be appointed to the Agriculture Committee tonight and taken off finance.
Added to the Agriculture Committee tonight.
Senator Kolker will be always welcomed at the Agriculture Committee. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good work today, colleagues. Mr. President, I move that the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. Friday, May the 3rd, 2024.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow.